I've been building my own kingdom for everyone to see. It exists to keep me safe from harm, and it's intact to glorify me. Nobody helped me build this up. It was me and me alone. I've appointed myself as the king, and I've given myself the throne. But it turns out I'm no ruler, and I have no control. So I have decided to destroy it all. I'm tearing down the walls, kicking down the doors. Everything inside this kingdom is yours. 'Cause what I've made is worthless, and it cannot stand. Come and breathe some life into my empty, cold, dead hands. Down with the fickle king, away with this fantasy. You are the one I need. Death to the kingdom of me. Death to the kingdom of me. I should probably be frightened. This empire's all I know, but it always does more damage than good. I'm afraid it's gotta go. I know that I can't be trusted, 'cause I'm just a man. And if you hadn't given your life for me, a loser would be all that I am. You know they say just follow your heart. I'm afraid that's a load of trash. Your heart will take you down to deep, dark places where you feel like you'll never come back. So I'm coming out of the dark. This facade is... I woke up feeling like it was time to tighten up. Yeah, I woke up feeling like it might be a good day to get it done. That's right. Oh, the stadium is just like my second house. Now I'm two-tone talking, they can't shut my mouth. I woke up feeling like it was time to tighten up. Yeah, 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 yeah. I woke up feeling like it was time to tighten up.
Two-Tone Talk is live on a Monday afternoon. My goodness gracious. How's everybody doing? Good to see everybody joining in today as we look at where the Tennessee Titans stand. After 1 week of free agency, some moves that have been made, not the flashiest moves in the world by any means, but moves that I think strongly indicate where this team is at and where this team is going. Today, I'm going to discuss who the Titans have signed, who the Titans have let go, who the Titans have re-signed, and who are the question marks at this point in the offseason. With just over a month to go until the draft, still a lot of holes to be filled on this team. Let's discuss. First of all, I want to thank everybody that voted for me in the Tennessee Titans content creator podcaster March Madness that took place over on X. I was a first round exit. I did not have a good matchup. I was going up against former Tennessee Titans defender Blaine Bishop. I never had a chance. Never had a chance in that one. And I was beaten convincingly, but it was an honor to be included in the Tennessee Titans content creator podcaster March Madness. Let's talk about what the Titans have done. So, to me, seems clearly evident the Titans, during the month of February, they apparently decided we are going, we are going to address the offensive line through free agency. A lot of us thought that they would need to address that in the draft. But look, they've only got 2 picks in the top 100 right now in the draft. You got to use those picks wisely. And it certainly looks like the first pick will likely be going toward a new quarterback. So, they could always trade back in the second round, try to get into the third round, whatever. But for right now, you have 2 picks in the top 100. Something had to go out. By process of elimination, you can't fix everything in the draft. And so they chose to address the offensive line through free agency. In some ways, a risky move, because we have tried that before with Andre Dillard. We have tried that before with Sadiq Charles, who retired, and then now he's unretired. It's like he's Ric Flair or something. Woo! Who's on my shirt, by the way. Then you have Leroy Watson, all of these swing and a miss guys that they have brought in to try to fill these roles on the offensive line that haven't worked out. But they're trying it again. And so they started free agency off by signing Dan Moore from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, last week, if you remember, I went live right as the Dan Moore news broke. I mean, literally. As I was counting down to come on, the news broke about the Dan Moore thing. And if you can go back and listen to that episode, you can hear I was not particularly happy about it. I was not jumping for joy that we just signed Dan Moore to an $82 million deal. And still to this moment, I'm still a little bit nervous about it because that's a lot of money to dish out to a guy who at best is unproven. But we saw there are a lot of guys probably in this free agency especially getting paid more than they're probably worth, and I think Dan Moore is one of those guys. That being said, I think you can watch his tape and tell there is some good stuff there. I wish there was some better stuff there since we're paying him so much, but there's some good stuff there. And maybe, here's one thing I don't think people talk about enough. With Bill Callahan last year, I know last season was awful in every way, but I actually thought the offensive line, while not great and many times not even good, I actually thought in the second half of the season the offensive line was mostly adequate. I know the right tackle position was always tough, but I even feel like Nicholas Petit-Frere got a little better. I feel like even NPF got a little better. Not good, but a little better. So I still have faith that Bill Callahan can make sense of this. And I think that, we have the right offensive line coach to maybe help Dan Moore get better. But it wasn't just Dan Moore. We knew the Titans needed to address right guard. I personally thought they would re-sign Dylan Radins. They did not. They signed Kevin Zeitler. I like this. I like the veteran presence. Durable. Again, this was kind of the common theme with who the Titans signed, is durability. Every guy they signed, I felt like Adam Schefter was saying, this guy played all 17 games last year. Like, they were looking for durability in free agency, and Kevin Zeitler and Dan Moore are durable, and they are the 2 new additions. Kevin Zeitler's 35 years old, I understand, but hopefully we can all agree Kevin Zeitler is an upgrade from Dylan Radins. And I thought Dylan Radins played okay last year. I thought Dylan Radins, like, he might end up starting somewhere this upcoming season. But hopefully we can all agree Kevin Zeitler is an improvement over Dylan Radins. He's better than Radins. And I agree. I do want to say I agree with what Kyle Wood just said in the YouTube chat. What's the point of having the best offensive line coach in the league and then not take risk on the offensive line? I still don't like the money, but I get it. That's kind of where I'm at with it. You know, you've got to try to make this offensive line as good as you can. You're not in position to do it in the draft. And so you take a swing at who you believe is the best guy out there. I do hate the fact that we're moving Latham back to right tackle in some ways because we drafted him to be a franchise left tackle, and after 1 year, we gave up on it and moved him over to right. I know right is probably where he's more comfortable because that's what he played at Alabama, but either way, you have your offensive line set. That's a big thing to check off the list. Dan Moore, Peter Skoronski, Lloyd Cushenberry, who I hope is healthy by the start of the season and who I hope doesn't have a significant setback in his play because of the injury. I will say, in the way of the offensive line, while we're talking about offensive line, the Titans also brought back Corey Levin, who I assume is going to be the backup center. Corey Levin, actually, I thought pretty consistent for what he is. I mean, a backup center. I feel like every time he gets in there, he does pretty well. So I don't mind bringing Corey Levin back. This guy, Blake Hance, who used to, I believe, be with Jacksonville, that they signed to like a $1 million deal. I'm assuming he's just going to be a depth piece. I don't know much about him at all. I'll just be honest with you. But there's your offensive line situation. You bring in Dan Moore to put it left tackle. You move Latham to right. You bring in Zeitler to play right guard. And there's your starting five. Now, everything from here is kind of a situation where you just need depth. You need to make sure you have plenty of depth because injuries happen on the offensive line all the time. You need, I assume you'll bring Jalen Duncan back just because he's young and he's big. Probably draft maybe a tackle late because the Titans have 2 4th-rounders, 2 5th-rounders, 2 6th-rounders. You can use one of those picks on a young tackle that's there. Get another veteran. I mean, you know, there's definitely some moves the Titans can make in free agency and late in the draft to build up the depth. But we have the starting five. Titans let Dylan Radins go. Like I said, in my opinion, Kevin Zeitler is absolutely an improvement over Radins. And honestly, I'm not willing to say Dan Moore is not an improvement over J.C. Latham at left tackle, guys. I mean, I like J.C. Latham. He did some good things, but there was a stretch of the season where J.C. Latham really struggled at left tackle. And I don't know if that's, moving him over to right tackle, is that the Titans' way of saying he's more comfortable at right tackle than left? He proved it. We feel like he would be more comfortable over there, so we're going to move him. I think it could be very possible that Dan Moore could be a slight improvement over J.C. Latham at left tackle. Just because J.C. Latham, he was a rookie last year, and he struggled. Did some good things, but struggled. So I think Dan Moore could be an improvement there, and I absolutely believe J.C. Latham will be an improvement at right tackle over everybody that we had in there at right tackle last year. So on paper, and I know we don't play football on paper, we play it on grass, but on paper, looks like it could be a very improved Tennessee Titans offensive line in 2025. Jay asked, why not bring back Daniel Brunskill? He can play guard or center, good depth. I think Daniel Brunskill is a quality depth piece on an offensive line, and I would love to bring him back. For the reason Jay said, he can play center, he can play guard. He's not bad at all. He does a pretty good job. Remember, he started for the Titans nearly every game in 2023. So let's get off of the offensive line. We talked about that a while. Let's stay on the offensive side of the ball. Wide receiver. Something's got to give. First of all, The only signing so far at wide receiver has been Van Jefferson. Correct me if I'm wrong, he was on the Rams Super Bowl team years ago, was wide receiver 3 on that team. He's been with Pittsburgh. I think he had a cup of coffee in Chicago. Now he's with Tennessee. Fine, he's fast. Maybe he can be a down the field threat. Van Jefferson does not move the needle one bit for this wide receiving group or this team. Like, signing Van Jefferson, God bless him, Van Jefferson should be wide receiver 4, at best 3 on this team. So I think Van Jefferson is kind of maybe like an NWI replacement, like about on that level. I mean, listen, I know we love NWI. I don't know if I'm willing to sit here with a straight face and say, oh, Nick Westbrook-Akine is better than Van Jefferson. I mean, I don't know. If he is, I mean, it's NWI sure scored more touchdowns. NWI had a knack for finding the end zone, but like, I don't know. I know our hearts are attached to NWI, but like, do we really believe NWI is just like this incredible wide receiver? He's reliable. He does some good things. He finds the end zone. But Van Jefferson, you know, if you get some other weapons in here, Van Jefferson, I guess, could do that. And also, everybody getting mad at the Titans for letting NWI go. Every report that's out there says they made pretty much the same offer that Miami gave him. He wanted to leave. That's his right. He can leave if he wants, but seems like he wanted to go. No harm, no foul. We'll sign Van Jefferson, but just know Van Jefferson ain't enough. Like, surely we know Van Jefferson is not like going to be, he should not be wide receiver 2 on this team. In the way of wide receivers, like I said, we let NWI go. I love NWI. It is a little sad to see him go, but honestly, like, I'm not going to sit here and act like we just let Randy Moss walk out the door. A big question mark for me at wide receiver, and on cue, Anthony just brought him up in the chat, is Treylon Burks, because to me, it was a no-brainer that he was not going to be back. It's just like, what more do you need to see? It's been a disaster since he got here. But now, as I look at the wide receiver room, Calvin Ridley's there, Van Jefferson's there. I think there's a very good chance the Titans use their second-round pick on a wide receiver. A lot of people talking about Luther Burden still being there at pick 35. I don't buy that he's still going to be there. The guy from Ohio State, people are talking about still being there. I don't buy it. I think both of those guys will be gone. But still, there's a quality. Trey Harris from Ole Miss. Some people, we struck lightning once with A.J. Brown and Ole Miss in the second round. Maybe we could do it again with Trey Harris. But a lot of people speculating that the Titans could very well use their second-round pick on a wide receiver. I think that would be a good thing to do. I know edge rush leaves us in a tough spot, but again, you're not going to be able to fix everything the way you need to this offseason. But Treylon Burks, I don't think they will be able to get anything for him in a trade. I just wonder, he's still on a rookie deal. Do you just bring him back just for the heck of it and have a wide receiver group potentially of Ridley, second-round pick, maybe another veteran wide receiver, Van Jefferson, Treylon, and whoever, whether it's Bryce Oliver or a late-round pick in the draft. And I will say this about Bryce Oliver. I think that a lot of people believe that he needs an opportunity, that he deserves an opportunity to prove that he can be something for this team. I'm for it. Like, I don't have anything against him. I mean, he had a good preseason, had a couple of good moments in the regular season when some guys were hurt and he got in. I wouldn't mind giving Bryce Oliver a shot, but I can't put all of my eggs in that basket. Like, we need to draft some guys. We need more in the wide receiver room. Like, Van Jefferson ain't enough. I hope we all know that. Staying on the I'm going to save quarterback for last. Defensively, Linebacker. There's a spot that the Titans needed help, and they traded Kenneth Murray. Kudos to Mike Borgonzi and Chad Brinker for pulling that off to get anything in return for Kenneth Murray. What is Jerry Jones thinking? So Kenneth Murray's out. Fine. And it appears that Jack Gibbons is out. Titans didn't bring him back. He's still a free agent. Isn't he? Is he still a free agent? Is he signed anywhere yet? Either way, Jack Gibbons and Kenneth Murray are both out. So you're now looking at pretty much a complete overhaul of linebackers. And the Titans signed Cody Barton, who played for Denver last year. Good player, durable, as I said. And I think he'll probably fill Jack Gibbons' role. The Titans, I feel like, yes, you have Cedric Gray, who's going to need to step up, and I hope he does. You have James Williams, who's going to need to step up, and I hope he does. But you need more at linebacker. You can't just bank on Cedric Gray or James Williams taking a huge leap. I think they need to sign another veteran. They had Jerome Baker, who they traded for from Seattle in the Ernest Jones thing. I don't think he was very good when he got in there, but they need somebody, a veteran presence, to provide some stability. Yes, they can draft a linebacker at some point in the draft, but I feel like you've already got Cedric Gray and James Williams, who are both young. Hopefully they step up, but right now you haven't seen that yet. You need something to bank on, and I feel like they'll need to sign another linebacker at some point. Safety. Titans signed Xavier Woods. Hopefully Big E and Kofi Kingston might sign too. Wouldn't mind Big E being on the defensive line. But anyway, Xavier Woods played some for the Cowboys, I believe, played some for Carolina, and now Xavier Woods comes to Nashville again. Durable. Very durable. Played in all 17 games last year. Not the difference between this team being a Super Bowl contender or not, but he's a veteran player who can come in and fill the role. He is essentially what Quandre Diggs was for this team at that position last year, just more durable. And so he's not a long-term solution, but, the Titans are probably, they're going to draft a safety at some point this year. It's just not a very deep safety class, but still they'll draft somebody. And I think God, it's pretty stupid that we traded Elijah Molden. But anyway, they'll draft somebody and probably bring in another veteran too, just to have some depth back there, because after Amani Hooker and Xavier Woods, it's really nothing. So they're going to have to draft safety. Punter. We let Ryan Stonehouse go. That's another one similar to NWI that people were kind of upset about. People like Ryan Stonehouse. I like Ryan Stonehouse. But he's got a big leg. I understand that. He can boot the thing. I feel like the Titans never down the ball inside the 5-yard line. I feel like the two things that the Titans didn't like about Ryan Stonehouse was, number one, took him too long to punt the ball. I'm not saying that's why we had all those blocked punts, but I do think in their minds it was a contributing factor that he took too long in his wind-up or whatever to punt. But mainly, I think that, yeah, he has a big leg, but anytime, I feel like most times we had a chance to pin somebody within the 5, he just booted it through the end zone for a touchback. Like, yeah, you can kick it far, but sometimes kicking it far is not the objective. Like, yeah, if we're punting from our own 20, then yeah, punt it as far as you can, great. But when we're punting it from midfield and we're trying to pin the other team deep and you inevitably just boot it through the end zone, yeah, I could see how that could grow a little frustrating. So the Titans signed Johnny Hecker. Johnny Hecker, who has worked with the new special teams coach, Fossil, before. And now Johnny Hecker is going to be the new punter. Listen, I know some people are upset about Ryan Stonehouse. I don't have it in me to sit here and get upset about the punter. We got too much going on. I don't have it in me to sit here and get upset about a punter. Going back to the defensive side of the ball. Draymond Jones. I like this signing. The Titans picked up Draymond Jones. Can play some edge rush, can play some defensive end, but I feel like he will be better suited maybe in a Danico Autry type role of what Danico Autry used to be with the Titans. I like this. I think this is one of my favorite signings so far is Draymond Jones. He can make an impact on this defensive line. I like that signing. Speaking of the defensive line, the Titans re-signed Sebastian Joseph Day. I like that. I thought Sebastian Joseph Day was a good player last year. Titans re-signed Keandre Coburn on the defensive line. I like Keandre Coburn. Thought he was a good depth piece. In the secondary, while we're at it, the Titans re-signed Darrell Baker, who was a waiver wire pickup right before the season, and he ended up playing some good football for the Titans. So I'm glad to have him back. But edge rush, major need. Like high alert, hitting the red button. We need edge rushers. And I hate the fact that as of right now, I feel like the Titans won't be able to draft one until the 4th round. Something's got to give. I don't know who's out there that we can bring in. I know Draymond Jones kind of addresses it because he can do a little bit of that. But like Arden Key is the best edge rusher we have right now, and we've got to do better than that. Harold Landry, gone. We've already talked about that. Titans are going to have to do something at edge rush. It's too important of a position. I don't know, bro. But something's got to give. Talk about quarterbacks now. Last but not least, let's talk about quarterbacks. I did a video about this. I will just reiterate here. I think the Titans gave away, because Mike Borgonzi said, we're not going to allow, how did he word it? We're not going to let what we think we're going to do in the draft affect what we do in free agency. That's bogus. That's a lie. And it's never been more apparent than it was when you watch what the Titans have done, addressing the offensive line. Yeah, this has been here for a while, Lion King 81. The Zero Sugar Mountain Dew. They're not a sponsor, but if you've never had one, good stuff. Anyway, the Titans addressed the offensive line in a major way. Okay. Who they bringing in all these guys to protect? Evidently, they want to protect somebody. Wonder who that could be. Then you look at the quarterback situation. The Titans did not bring back Mason Rudolph, but the reports were that the Titans did make an offer to Mason Rudolph. To me, that's a dead giveaway. They're drafting a quarterback in the 1st round. Why would you even consider running back with Will Levis and Mason Rudolph after what we saw last year? Why would you even consider that? Unless the idea is we'll draft a quarterback and then we'll let Will Levis and Mason Rudolph compete for the backup job. Like, I have no idea why the Titans would even consider. Because you remember what Borgonzi and Brinker said? They said, we want to bring in somebody to compete. The idea being, if we don't draft a quarterback, we want somebody to come in and compete with Will Levis for the starting job. And you were thinking about bringing back Mason Rudolph? I don't buy it at all. But look who the Titans did sign. Brandon Allen is who they signed. That's their pickup to come in and compete with Will Levis. So either the Titans are drafting Cam Ward 1st overall, or they are putting together the most obvious tank job in the history of the NFL. If you go into a season where Will Levis and Brandon Allen are competing to be your starting quarterback, you are tanking to a degree never seen before by man. Now listen, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't read the future. I'm never going to just come on here and say 100% this is what they're going to do. But do the math. Do the math. They had the meeting with Cam Ward that everybody said he won him over. You don't sign a guy to come play left tackle for $82 million if you know that you're tanking. You don't shore up the offensive line. I mean, you bring in a quality right guard in Kevin Zeitler who can really provide some, stability on the right side of the offensive line this year. You just don't do that, in my opinion, to protect for Brandon Allen or somebody like Will that you know is not going to be your quarterback of the future. It's just a placeholder. If you really want competition for Will Levis, you do not sign Brandon Allen. You could have maybe convinced me that if they had signed Jameis, then maybe Jameis is going to come in and compete. Maybe Mac Jones, if they had signed him. Maybe Gardner Minshew. Maybe a guy like that, you could have convinced me that guy, they might go with him for a year. Because the Raiders just went with Minshew for a year. It was awful, but they did it. Brandon Allen, that is not a guy you bring in to potentially be your starter with your coach's job on the line. So, if I were a betting man, my money would be on Cam Ward to Nashville. Far and away QB1 in this draft. And I like Shedeur and everything, but I just think Cam Ward is the only one in this class, in my opinion, that has it. That's just my opinion. I think that he's the most NFL ready. I'm not saying his film's perfect or anything, but he's got all the traits you want. Big, physical, can make the tough throws, can extend plays with his legs. So my money's on Cam Ward. And what I'm looking at with other quarterbacks, as far as Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins and Russell Wilson and how that's all going to shake out, somebody's going to be the odd team out. I think I could see a scenario where Rodgers goes to Minnesota. Giants get incredibly desperate and go pay Russell Wilson too much. And then the Steelers are left with no other option but to trade for Kirk Cousins. Because what else are they going to do? They just traded for DK Metcalf. You got to get somebody in here halfway decent. And then the Titans with Ward and the Browns take Shedeur. That is it for today's episode, everybody. Thank you for joining me on the Two-Tone Talk by God pod. Obviously, free agency is not over at all. It'll still be going on well into the summer and even into the season, so the Titans can still make moves. We'll see what happens. Thank you guys for joining me here today. Hope you have a good week. Tighten up. Bye, everybody.